Former Deputy Prime Minister, loves his racing, born and bred here, of course, in Wagga, went to school here, and we regularly see him with things like question time. In fact, he was doing a Melbourne Cup call. I think on Melbourne, or a race call on Melbourne Cup Day, you started question time with. You love the sport and you love the area, and I thought, what a great way to start our Racing HQ Roadshow in Wagga. Good morning, Mr. McCormack.
Well, good morning and welcome to sunny Wagga Wagga. And look, doesn't the track look a picture?
It does. You've turned the weather on for me. I like that.
We always bring sunshine and smiles to welcome visitors.
Tell us about the region. We've spoken before on this program around Cup time. We haven't spoken before of Country Championships. This particular event is a great, showcase of the region. But Country New South Wales, and for that fact, Country Australia, our network goes right through the ACT into regional New South Wales, but a lot of listeners that listen in that part of the world. How are you feeling about regional Australia at the moment overall?
I think regional Australia's best days are in front of it, and I'm really looking forward to going to the Yass picnics this Saturday. I can't make it here. It's a long-standing engagement. It's a new part of the Riverina electorate, and really looking forward to getting along to that meeting. But my heart will also be right here at the Murrumbidgee Turf Club, where they've been running for, since 1860 on this very track.
Yeah.
And this course has a history like no other. But racing brings so much camaraderie and so much goodwill. But also the money it raises for country charities is, you just can't put a figure on it. I mean, even here in just Wagga Wagga, there would be dozens upon dozens of charities which rely on the dollars produced here at the MTC to run their organisations. And that is everything from disability services to women's health to you name it, children's upbringing, you name it. They rely on the MTC. They have their race days here. Some are specially dedicated race days. But it's not just Wagga Wagga, it's right throughout regional Australia. Regional Australia, which employs 70,000 people, are engaged in the racing industry. It is not just a sport, it's more than that, but it's also very much the heart and soul and fabric of these country communities. A country community with a race course, with a race club, is a much better country community than one which doesn't have that.
Here, well said. What do you love most about this particular game that we all love? Was it spurred from a young memory that you've got of maybe listening to the wireless or attending the races?
My late father taking me to the trots
Yeah.
at Junee and Wagga Wagga and Temora, of course, Paleface, Adios Country. And then when I started work as a journalist at the Daily Advertiser, Ted Ryder, the late great Ted Ryder, after whom a race is named. Ted passed away only aged 58, way back in 1987. But he was he was a big man. He had a big voice. He had a big presence, not just in racing, but in football and cricket and all sports. But racing was his main caper, and he was renowned right throughout Australia. His form cards, long before computers, were relied upon, not just by Riverina racing people, but indeed the Daily Telegraph, the Sydney Morning Herald, and it was a different type of media then. It was much more contained. It was radio, newspapers and television, and that was just about it. But Ted was the voice of the Riverina as far as racing was concerned, but he was also the go-to person when somebody couldn't find that maiden galloper that might have run at Tumbarumba and hadn't been seen for 5 years and was all of a sudden having a start at Orange. That was the sort, and Ted would know it. He'd know which horse it was.
Yep.
He'd produce the form card from 5 years earlier, and he'd send the journalist off on their way to make sure that they were accurate.
This track's seen a lot of great history in its time. I was actually so impressed last time we spoke. You've got this, I can call it a scrapbook.
Yeah, yes.
Of Wagga Cup.
It's the Bible
history.
as far as the Wagga Wagga Gold Cup, first run in 1873. I have it and still do. Even though I was the Deputy Prime Minister, at times acting Prime Minister of the country, and I do remember this wonderful little story. This fellow rang me up and he wanted to find out what had won the Blue Diamond Stakes at the VATC in 1931. What was its grand dam? He rang me up and I said, I can find it. I can't find it right now, but I will look it up for you anyway. On the Friday, I rang him back, gave him the answer. He saw it and he said, it's a fun fact. He said, do you know that the acting Prime Minister of the country at the moment shares the same name as you? I said, I am the acting Prime Minister of the country. And he said, no, only in Australia moment. And here he was. He'd been given the number by the VRC, which still had my number back then, and probably still does to this day, because I used to do those things. I've got all the turf registers, I've got all the stud books, both Australia and New Zealand, and I was their go-to person after Ted Ryder passed away, you see, and they still had the number. They've given it to this bloke, and he'd phoned up out of the blue. So, it's a great Australian little story.
Have you been involved with ownership before? Have you had...
I have not.
You
So
haven't?
I've invested way too much in my horse library, which is second to none in, I
Right.
reckon, the Southern Hemisphere. I know it is. Graham Caves has got a pretty good one in Sydney, but I reckon I've got him. But him and I talk often. But I still maintain it. I still, every now and again, there might be a little race book from the 1870s that appears on eBay or Lesky or Abacus Auctions and Lawson's or something, and I snap it up. Yeah, I still got that passion in me for the racing history, and yeah.
Is it because obviously politics, and I'm only as someone looking from afar, can be quite brutal on the mind, I think. With the,
It's a good escape.
Yeah, and this is an escape for you.
Oh, it is, and you get to the racetrack and you've got people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
People who are doing it tough, people who are wealthy beyond wealthy, and they all mix and they're all happy, and that's Australia. We've got the per capita the greatest ownership of horse racing in the world, it's horses like Asgard, Dougie Gorrell, and others who make that happen. I know Scotty Sambrook's got a nostril hair of that particular horse, but it's those sorts of things, and what Peter V'landys has helped bring owners into the caper, into the game. And you'll often get people who sit in the marquee and they won't see the horses fly past the finishing post, but they're still involved. They love coming to the races, dressing up, having a few champagnes, and enjoying the day. And that's what racing's all about. You don't have to be an astute expert on horse flesh and breeding. You just come here to have a good time and to escape. And that's what it's all about.
It's so refreshing to hear that. And we're chatting with Michael McCormack, of course, who's the federal member here, which now your jurisdiction. So where are we talking? Yes.
We go from everywhere from Crookwell to Matong, Lockhart to Cowra, and all places in between. But Wagga Wagga is the hub. It is the largest centre. And of course, Jason Ferrario does a good job of running this club. But there's race clubs and trotting clubs right throughout. I know Coolum have got a big bid in at the moment for some money to upgrade their trotting track, and they're doing some good things out there.
It's so good. It's so refreshing to hear this from you, Michael, and from other politicians as well, because it is a part of the Australian fabric. I mean, a lot of people that listen to this program and this station love their racing, and one day that could be under threat from other people.
Well, the Greens want to shut it down.
Exactly.
The Greens have a policy, a written policy in place. Well, it's just nonsense. I mean, it would put so many people, tens of thousands of people out of work. It would take away their hope, their fun, their weekends. And sure, there might be some problem gamblers. My God, if they're not betting on the horse race, you take that away, they'll be betting on Estonian mud wrestling. People who want to bet will find a way. But in the main, racing is very responsible. It does the right thing. Animal welfare is front and centre of horse racing, and in the main, greyhound racing too. I mean, these people who would, these fun police who would stop these things, ought to just go back and go and smell the roses a bit and stop being keyboard warriors, justice warriors, late at night. I mean, they're the sorts of people who the Greens attract. That's not for me. That's not for country people. You come here on any given Saturday when we're racing. Like you come here this Saturday, or the Yass picnics, or wherever they're running, Wyong today. There'll be genuine, good-hearted Australian people who pay their taxes, who many veterans, people who are nurses, people who are police, good-hearted Australians, good old larrikins and fun people. They don't want the fun police telling them they can't have their sport that we've had since the first boat arrived in Australia all those years ago, back in the 1700s.
And probably treat their horses better than themselves.
Exactly, and of course they do. Of course they do. And any animal welfare cruelty, any animal cruelty is jumped upon, and it should be. But that doesn't happen. I mean, you're right. The people treat their horses. You're going to have a poke of your head in the stables here at the Turf Club and close by. Gary Colvin just over the road. I mean, he loves his horses. He'd do anything to help his horses to be their best selves.
So Yass on the weekend, that's going to be a big picnic, man. That'd be sensational there at Yass.
Oh, look, it is. They've got a great little track. They want it upgraded too. I mean, it's election time, so everybody wants a bit more money. So Benny Maguire will be in my ear with Hugh Ranger, no doubt, and they'll be telling me that I should do this and that and everything else. And we need to pump more money into these sorts of facilities. We do. Sport keeps this country alive and well and happy, and we've seen that both with the Matildas and how well they went. We've seen it with how popular the football codes are. Women's Aussie Rules is the fastest growing sport in the country, but even lawn bowls and all that. I mean, Australians love sport. They also love to bet. They also love their horse races, and no better place in horse racing than the Murrumbidgee Turf Club. For the race that stops the region. I coined that phrase. Somebody else pinched it and used it for some horse race they run in Melbourne apparently on the first Tuesday in November.
It'll be a great day. 2,500 plus. Obviously, it coincides with O Week. They're having a big DJ precinct.
Oh, all the students be here. All the students will be here. I know they're going to, and there'll be bucks parties. There'll be hens parties. You name it. The people will be dressed up in all wonderful frocks and outfits.
I think that's one thing I love about the cup meeting here as well. It is cup meetings across a lot of New South Wales. I'm very lucky to go to all the big parties, but you are getting that younger generation come in, and
you have to, because if you don't, you die. And look, you'll get your racing purists here who'll they'll understand every bit of the form guide and what horses are black type, what horses will be black type, all that sort of stuff. But you'll also get the once a year people who come along, and maybe we can convince them to come along a little bit more often, but you'll get those young people, and young people are the future. We know that. Somebody once wrote a song about treat them well and let them show the way, but I'll be showing the way at the Murrumbidgee Turf Club on Saturday, particularly with this weather.
It'll be a busy time for you in the future because campaigns, elections will be called, so
I'll still find time to keep my eye on the races, and you get out to the races, and people do come up to you and say, "Oh, I need my road fixed. What are you doing about pathology services?" And that's a bit of an issue around here at the moment. Ambulance service, of course, is a state issue, but they'll still be asking me about it. They'll still be asking me about taxation and rise of anti-Semitism. I mean, every topic will be discussed, will be covered at a racetrack, and that's the beauty of it too. You meet people from all walks of life, and people in the main are pretty good. They'll be out there enjoying a good day out.
And what I love about, because I've been involved in some of those conversations where you're talking about current news or something that's might be happening in the town, the conversation will be going along, and then if there's a slight pause, the next, well, what do you like in the next? So it all blends in, and then after the race, you'll go back to
that's exactly
that conversation.
Right. That is precisely right. You've nailed it in one.
Before I let you go, I flew in yesterday. I flew in on the Qantas. I saw all the Rex planes, and I saw plenty of Rex planes. That's a big issue for regional Australia. As someone that travels around, I use Rex, I'll use Qantas. I hope that we've still got
we need competition in the skies, and we need people, if they get the option, I hate to say it, but we do need them to fly Rex, because if we lose it, we won't know its value until we do, and there's many country communities, more than a dozen, which have only Rex flying into them, and if they can't have access to Rex, their only airline, they won't have access to doctors, they won't have access to medication, they also won't have access to capital cities so that they can fly to appointments, medical, business or otherwise. And Rex is it's got its heart in the country. It started here at Wagga Wagga. It's got 150 people. I was only talking to Warwick Lodge just last night. 150 people. That's $12 million worth of wages it pumps into the Wagga Wagga economy and the maintenance hangar out here at the airport. Wow. We've just lost the Australian Airline Pilot Academy to Ballarat. I'm devastated about that. There's hope that it might resume here at Wagga Wagga, but slim hope. This has been an absolute disaster for regional Australia. I'm thankful that the government has answered my call and continue to put money into it. It's too important to lose.
Well said. Thank you for supporting racing, Michael, as always, and for making the time to come down here this morning.
You are a good man, and welcome to Wagga Wagga again.
I love it.
Welcome anytime.
We will see you probably at the Cup meeting then.
You will definitely see me on that first Friday in May, the race that stops a region.
Michael McCormack there, the federal member for the Riverina, joining us.
Authorised by Michael McCormack, the National Party, Wagga Wagga.